Hiya folks, so I hope everyone's doing well. So I'm back again today with another modification guide. This one's gonna be a lot less extreme than my other one. This one's actually, I feel like it's gonna be helpful for a vast majority of you. Those of us who enjoy flipper knives, we like a really nice detent. But the most common problem with Spyderco is this, you know? Whether you light switch it or you push button, you can kind of open it with push button, but we prefer light switching, right? We prefer light switching it, but this is made for push button. So the way the detent is set up, and I get it, I mean, it takes less energy to do this way, which is not as satisfying, let's be frank. So the way, to really fix this is it's pretty straightforward actually. Because Spyderco tunes their detent on a really, really weird way. And this will actually work with other liner and frame locks, even compression locks, anything that uses a ball bearing detent. Because if you look here, you see where that, post is, right? Let's see if I can show you. All right, that is the detent ball engaging with the blade. All right, you can clearly see the detent ball sitting out there, right? So, and I sketched this out earlier. The problem is, this is what Spyderco does, all right? Spyderco underdrills the size of the detent hole, so it's only this much of the ball is actually nesting in the blade, which means, it doesn't take much to kind of pop this ball out. To get a snappy detent, let's say what, Shirogurov, Koenig, anyone with a snappy detent pretty much would just do this. Whereas in the ball, about half the ball is actually nesting in the detent hole, in the blade. All right, I hope this makes sense. Because if you think about this, all right, if we imagine this as like, just drawing angles on this, all right, or just lines, this is a, not very steep incline. Whereas in over here, you have a much, much steeper incline that you have to pop it out. So pretty much it requires more energy and effort to, to pop this out. So this what makes it a snappy detent. That's the secret. And fortunately, we can do this at home fairly easily. Because, again, let's go back to a Dremel. This one's it's one from an older kit. But you have to definitely check these because I made a mistake one time of buying a new one. And it was barely bigger than this one. This one's right at 1/16 of an inch. The other one I had was just like 2 thou bigger. The problem with that is that another problem you can come in with this is that if your ball is actually smaller than the hole, you're gonna get detent rock, and we don't want that either. So that's an issue to kind of keep in mind on. And then the other reason why I prefer using the ball over like a cone is that you really want to maximize, the parallel. If you draw like, 2 parallel lines on this ball, you want it to, match the hole that it's gonna go into on the blade. So that's the reason for it. So yeah, I'll take this apart and I'll show you what to do next. All right, so now I have the blade and the locking liner apart. And now just to show you more clearly what I mean. So you see this hole is, really small, and there's detent ball. Most detent balls are around 1/16 of an inch, just so you know. That's why I said that using a 1/16 inch ball burr. Sometimes I actually prefer using a 1.5 millimeter, which is barely smaller than a 1/16 of an inch. Let's see if I can show you through a camera. It's hard to do this. All right. So you see, this is the max engagement, all right? There's just not much that's in contact there. That's the problem, all right? So that's with clear visualization. Next thing to do is just chuck this into a Dremel and just open this up a bit, because all you're gonna do is you're gonna create a ball cavity that's 1/16 of an inch big. So this guy, so this ball bearing can sit deeper in there. Something else we may have to do, which I'm going to go step-by-step process because I've worked on the Silverax before, is that this is going to require resetting detent ball as well, and I will show you how that is done. It's easier than you think too. So this point now, all we're going to do is, ball burr, detent hole, just touch and open, touch and open. Would not be a bad idea at all to go ahead and have your liner with you so you can just match it and see so you don't overshoot it. And the reason also 16th inch ball, you have a much less of a chance of overshooting it because you're not, you know, having a ball that's bigger than the diameter, having a hole that's bigger than the diameter of the ball. You know, if that makes sense. It's pretty straightforward. All right, let's go. It doesn't have to be run very fast, especially since it's diamond. Let's keep it centered. So you have to be careful. You can accidentally, like, you know, having the burr slip out and kind of give you an ugly grind mark. Okay, so I just did that a little bit right there. So now is to test to see if it fits okay. So now if you look in here, it's nesting much deeper, but it's not enough. Under normal circumstance, what you need to do is reassemble, test it, see if it's about where you like it to be, and then just keep going at it. I've modded Silverax before, like I said earlier. I know that this one needs to work. It needs me to do everything. All right, so I'm gonna, let's see. It's gonna require a couple of more spins. All right. I forgot I should totally tape up the blades, but this one needs a fresh edge anyway, so it's not terribly sharp. Alright, so we are checking again. So let's see where it's at right now. So if you look, it looks like it's almost completely nested in there, and you can kind of jiggle a little bit, see if you can feel it, the detent rock. And so far I don't really feel anything. So there's that. So which means, for most knives, this is about all you need to do, because people tend to already have their detent bolts set to the, you know, the certain depth that they just need to open up the hole up to get a snappy reaction. But I want to get as snappy as I can out of it, which then requires me to pop the detent bolt out. All right, and I'll explain why in a second. Alright folks, real quick on why I need to pop out the detent ball on this guy to reset it. Alright, because the liner is 147 thou. Alright, just the liner by itself. Liner plus the detent ball, it's 170 thou. Alright, so that's this and this. Which means the difference is 23 thou. The average detent ball diameter is, you know, 1/16 of an inch, or 0.062. So our target is actually between, 28 thou to 30 thou. Why is that? Well, because at some point, the liner still needs to capture the detent ball. Because, you know, once you pass the diameter of it, because the diameter is the thickest part of the balls, if you pass it, you know, there's nothing that's capturing the ball as it sits in the liner. At this point, you know, if there's more liner, if the ball sits deeper into the detent hole of the blade instead of the liner, well, it's going to pull the detent ball out of the liner, kind of like a reverse flipper, you know. So that's why, you know, right here, so we want at least, you know, 32 thou that's in the liner, you know, and then about 30 thou of the ball sticking out. Because I've tried 31 thou, yeah, you're just flipping the ball out constantly, all right? Because, you know, we want to maximize how much ball we can get sticking out. So even as you can, you know, those, you can do quick math, it's 7 thou. 7 thou difference may not seem much, but it really makes a difference. It goes something from, like, you know, a medium light detent to a light detent. And that's really how small of a figure we're kind of playing with here. Remember, because once the detent ball's in the hole, you want to stick as close to this parallel as we possibly can. All right, because we're not really ever going to get the true parallel. We're probably going to be like, this nut is focusing weird. It's going to get really close. All right, hope that makes sense. If you don't, drop a comment and I'll do my best to explain it. Or just, you know, do it yourself and you start seeing it. All right. Okay, so the heart to popping the detent out, which you don't need an anvil like this. I just happen to have this, which has a hole in it. I made this little catch guard because I've done a lot of detent popping. And in this case, since it's just a liner, I don't really have any special tool. I just found this nail that's enough to kind of pop the ball out. So, you know, so just lay it over the hole and take a hammer and just give it a pop. That's it. D10 ball's out. That's all there is to it. It's easy. Alright, so now you gotta find the ball and reset it. I'm probably gonna put a ceramic in on this one, just because I'm already doing this already. So you don't need this to do it. You can just find a piece of wood with a hole in it. That's actually what I start off using. As long as there's something that can, you know, a hole that's big enough to catch the D10 ball, and then, you know, that's enough to have both sides of the liner that sits on it. And of course, have something under to catch your D10 ball, because trying to chase down a 16th inch ball is not very fun. I can tell from experience. Alright, so I have a bag of ceramic detents. You can just find these on eBay. Like, they're not very expensive. Just order a bunch from China for like $6 and just be done with it. You can order from the US and they get a little, you know, come a little faster, because I used to order like, you know, these really nice legit ones for like $3 a pop. I'm just like, you know, $3 for like a, you know, a tiny D10 ball. It's expensive. Alright, so at this point, all you need to do is get your D10 ball. Alright, so there's a ceramic D10 now. So just press it on my finger, and then I'm gonna move over to a vise and to press it in. So this D10 ball is now just press fit by my finger pretty much. So it doesn't have any real pressure on it. So now to press the ball in, I'm just using a vise. Basic bench vise. You don't need to use a vise. If you have like a C-clamp, it does the same thing. Because all you need is just even pressure to press it in. So that way, you know, went ahead and I guess, you know, close the jaw so it's a little tighter. So what I do now, hopefully you can see, is when I go in, I want to nest the ball side on one side of the jaw ASAP. Because sometimes what's going to happen is that balls will just kind of fall out because you're just pressing it with a thumb. Alright? And that's going to be a problem sometimes. And there's nothing really holding there besides a little bit of friction. And now, you know, just tighten it up with a vise. Just tighten the jaws a little bit. And all you need, it depends on the size of your vise. You really don't even need a full turn. You barely need a turn. Just you feel the pressing of the ball into the liner as you feel a little bit of resistance. All right, and that's really all there is. All right, and you kind of dig it with your thumb to see if it's, you know, secure in there. All right, so far so good. It's not popping out. I'm gonna measure it to see if it's within the target depth. If it's not, I'll pop it out and I'll just do this all over again. So, and then it's gonna be test fitting, just see if the action's where I want it to be. If it's not, you know, the last thing I can do is actually bend the lock bar over some more to give it more lock bar tension. All right, so that's pretty much all there is to it. So onward to assembly. All right, folks, here it is. You know, finally assembled. Because usually through the process you're gonna have to be assembling, disassemble a lot. Because with this one, I know that'll take it all the way past where I normally would take things. So with this one in particular, I actually had to open up the D10 hole some more, you know, after the footage of it, during my first initial test fit. I also had to reset the D10 ball a little bit more too, so a little bit more shoot out. So it's, you know, I think it's around like 27th out. That's proud right now. So it's close to that 28, 29 target I was, you know, wanting to do. I also had to bend this lock bar further over. So usually your lock bars are bent like to the opposite liner. I've actually bent it past the opposite liner. It just adds some more lock bar tension. All right, so what's it like now? There it is, much better. See? This is actually a really fun knife now. And it's gonna be even better after I oil it. So this is just all dry. All right, thumb flick it. And middle finger spine flip. Yeah, there it is. D10 work. So yeah, that's really all it takes to do a D10 mod. It's gonna take, you know, it's gonna vary from like 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer, because you may have to play with between assembly and disassembly. You know, so it's like, you know, the initial check we had before, you know, you see the liner, but you don't see the ball anymore. So the ball's fully nested in the blade. So you get, you know, as much that snap as you can squeeze out of this knife right now. You know, so I hope you found this to be really useful. This has been an amazing thing to figure out over the years I've been, playing with knives, because I was able to score some awesome deals because of really, really like light detent. It's great. People like the Spyderco Hanan. It's like a $200 knife. But people hate it because the detent sucks, and you can pick up like 130, 240, or even less than that all day. So, and I love that knife, and my Hanan's nice and snappy. And I forgot to make a video of it when I first got it. And which is actually why I went to Silverax out as a better candidate, because I had to do all these other steps as well to do it. So it covers a lot of the bases for how to, tune a detent on these. I've even had custom knives where people are like, the detent's too light, I'm selling it. They'll take like $200 off of like $1,000 knife. I was like, yeah, for me, 30 minutes in a shop, save myself $200. That's a win to me in my book. So I hope you can use it and apply it to your, other knives and get more joy out of these knives. And I hope that alleviates some of the soft detent problems with the Spyderco knives, the Spyderco flippers in particular that's out there. Because these are actually pretty nice flippers after you get into them. Because I enjoy them. I like the Trollpin, I like the Hanan, I like the Souther flipper, I like the Positron. I mean, I really like all the Spyderco flippers. And, there's just the common problem with them is the light detent, and every single one of them, I have to give them very similar treatments. So the detent mod will work pretty much across various other brands of knives as well. Like I say, as long as, it's a ball bearing detent, it will work. The next step is that if you do all this and it still doesn't give you a nice snappy action, it'll be time to make a detent post. Comment down below, or maybe someday if I, run across another knife that actually needs to have a detent post, I'll make a tutorial video on that as well. The concept is pretty much the same, except that you're using a rod for your detent instead, which gives you the snappiest actions. Custom makers like Glenn Hoven does that, and his knives are finger breaking hard. All right, his detents are sharp. A lot of people do flat detents. You pretty much have a very similar effect to a detent post as well. All right. So yeah, so comment below if you're interested in that, so I know if I should put the time into making a mod post like that. Otherwise, I hope you find this to be useful, and I hope you find this to be helpful, and you're able to get that much more joy out of your knives. So if you have any comments or questions, feel free to post them below. Feel free to share this with your friends who are having problems with their, light detent on their flippers. All right, you have a good one. Thank you for watching.